Hello, I'm Nathan and welcome to my channel. I'm starting a video series on biblical prophecy and how it's shaping the world around us right now. So let's begin by talking about why does prophecy in the Bible matter? To begin with, 27% of the Bible is prophetic. 27% of the Bible is written about future events. Most of those things have already come to pass, so it's all ancient history to us. But there are some prophecies that are still yet to be fulfilled. And the reason that God made so much of the Bible about what was going to happen was so that his people, originally the Israelites, but also now the Christians, could see the prophecies and change their behavior. He doesn't just tell us what's going to happen, he tells us it's going to happen and this is why. So that's what prophecy is about. It's about changing your behavior and knowing what's coming up, to know that God is in control and calling the shots. And also so you can go to other people, maybe who aren't Christians, and say, hey, look, it says this in the Bible, and this just happened. We're at that point now in history. But let's go back real quick to antiquity, and I'm going to read for you the last prophecy back then that I know of that was fulfilled. So this is from Mark 13, verse 1. And it says, as they came out of the temple, one of the disciples said to him, look, teacher, what wonderful stones and what wonderful buildings. And Jesus said to him, do you see these great buildings? There will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. So fast forward about a little under 40 years from when Jesus said this, the Romans come in under General Titus, they sack Jerusalem, they burn the temple to the ground. Well, when they burn the temple to the ground, there's a lot of gold attached to the walls in that big temple. And that gold, it melted down into the foundation stones. So after it all cooled off, the Romans had to go back in and they had to pry apart the entire foundation to get into the cracks and rip the stones apart to get the gold out. So not only did Jesus say that temple's going to be destroyed, he said they're going to tear the foundation out. And it came to pass. So that's kind of a side note. That's kind of amazing to me. And that's the last prophecy I know that was answered back then. So there's about a 2,000-year period where the Israelis are dispersed out of Israel. They go and live amongst all the nations for 2 millennia almost. And during this time, the church comes to power. And we expand through the world. And no prophecies occur. Now, this is from Isaiah 11, verse 11. In that day, the Lord will extend his hand yet a second time to recover the remnant that remains of his people. So the first time was when he brought them back from Babylonia, back before Christ. And then there's going to be a second time that he recreates Israel from the people who were taken out of it. And then verse 12, he says, he will raise a signal for the nations and will assemble the banished of Israel and gather the dispersed of Judah from the 4 corners of the earth. All right. So when did this happen? This happened between the 1900s and the end of World War II. So what occurred was the horribleness that the Germans did with the Holocaust and gathering up all the Jewish people taught them an important lesson, and that is that hiding amongst the nations was not really protection after all, that they could still be found and killed. So that standing together would be a better idea. And they came back to Israel, and in 1947, the UN recognized Israel as a country again. After almost 2,000 years, the same people group returned to their homeland and made it their country again. That is a huge prophecy when Israel was recreated. And nobody in any church I've ever been in has ever actually said on the pulpit, in 1947, a prophecy in the Bible was fulfilled. They never mention it. They read prophecy, but they never mention, hey, this actually happened in our lifetimes. Another thing that it said when Israel comes back, that the land before they come back will be cursed and desolate. Again, you can look up what Mark Twain in 1800s said about Israel. He said it was uninhabited, desolate, terrible place. He was visiting it. He said just like if the land had a curse on it. The Jewish people come back to Israel, start farming it, resettling it, and they turn it into a lush land of milk and honey. Most of the produce sold to Europe comes from Israel now. The place is full of orchards again, and farmland, and cattle and sheep. Again, they brought it back to its past beauty, so that it blossomed like a rose, like it says. So the other reason that Israel is important to us is because Israel is a linchpin to the rest of the prophecies in the Bible. Okay? Anywhere in the Bible where you read and it says the latter days, blah, 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 Israel this, blah, 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 Israel that. All of the prophecies that are happening in what a lot of people refer to as the end times is all related to Israel. All nations will have their eyes on this tiny country, Israel. That's what's happening now. Okay? All the nations will turn against and hate Israel. Okay. Israel has had a lot of sympathy as I grew up. Not until recently, within the last 5 years, everyone has become anti-Semitic again and turned against Israel. It's part of mainstream culture to teach our youth that Israel is bad, and the other groups that they're fighting are good. So everything's being turned on its head, and the enemy is hard at work to try to destroy Israel again. But again, we are in the short window that I refer to as the Latter Day window. Okay, so we had 2,000 years of the church age. Now we have this small window before the tribulation, and prophecy is going to speed up. Jesus said it was going to be like birth pains. So contractions come closer together and intensify, and that's what's been happening through my life. Is these things that have been happening have been coming closer and closer together, and they've been intensifying and building. So again, more prophecy being fulfilled. So if anyone asks you or says to you something like, oh, the Bible's all made up by a bunch of guys in Rome and stuff like that, you could actually point to it and say, well, actually, a couple thousand years ago, what's going on now was actually written down. And here's how that works. And we're going to go into that in later videos on different prophecies that are being set up to be fulfilled and how they're being fulfilled, and kind of my viewpoint on the predictions. Nobody knows when the actual event will happen, but what Jesus said was we would know the season. And when he says you'll know the season by the signs, I read the prophecies and then I just look at the news and go, oh, wait a second, they're setting this up. He says that there'll be a one world currency. That's what they're doing right now. They're actually setting up a digital one world currency, and they just can't introduce it yet, but they're prepping it right now. The countries that are going to attack Israel, they're all forming alliances right now and speaking out against Israel. So I don't know when, say, the Magog War will happen, which is between Russia, Iran, and Turkey. And I don't know when, and there's a few other countries, but those three countries are going to attack Israel. But I know this, that they're all very good friends, and they all trade weapons, and they all are signing mutual defense treaties with each other. So again, the dominoes are being set in place, and when they get knocked over, boy, is the world going to turn on its head in a hurry, and nobody's going to say, or everyone's going to sit around and say, how did this happen? Well, it's because it was prepped in advance, and the preparations are going on right now. So again, I don't know how long we have till these events take place. I just know that they can pretty much happen at any point now. So we're going to get into other prophecies that are answered and other prophecies that are being prepared in future videos. please subscribe if you would, and also you can click the little bell icon so you're notified when more of these videos come up. And thank you for your interest, and may God bless you